underneath it. This is a zoomed in image.
Okay, this is a clip from a Wolfie video that I put in a recent video to show how when they back off the zoom, everything disappears bottom first. Now, he's going to nitpick about the skinny little lighthouse that is also going to meet the Rayleigh criterion and become unresolvable before the entire bottom does. Now, I don't know why he would nitpick on that, because that's common sense. It's just a skinny little thing. But the bottom of the island will disappear before the top of the island.
He's going to back off the zoom, and you're going to watch all of that compress bottom first and become unresolvable bottom first.
Remember, he chose the video, he chose the words.
Yes, I chose the words, and they still fit, and I'm still correct. Doesn't matter what Mr. 42 says. He's a dolt. He knows better. How does he explain why the lighthouse disappears first? That's the funny question, because there will be no curve blocking it. It's just angular compression and Rayleigh criterion.
It compresses towards center frame. Your vanishing zone.
Lots of visual information will
the black
disappear.
hole of information.
I'm not gonna joke about that remark right now, but beware of the comment section. You have started this yourself, Gary.
I'm going to play it back in
Yes,
slow
I'm gonna
motion
finish it.
so you can observe and see for yourself. Nobody can complain that this isn't a clear image. This is very clear. You're going to watch all kinds of information disappear. See the...
Now watch how everything
Looks like
is
a buoy.
compressing towards center frame. The outside's moving
That'll
inward,
disappear.
the top is moving down, the bottom is moving up.
So the information is
The
compressing.
bottom of
with
the island
distance.
is becoming unresolvable,
As you
as
back
separate
off the
from the
zoom.
water line
As
before
you
the
back off the
entire
zoom,
top
is
does.
this the point where the lighthouse is unresolvable, but the land below
Yes,
is
because
still
it
there?
met the Rayleigh
Well done, Gary.
criterion.
It's no longer magnified.
It was skinny.
The problem with the zoom is people are
can't
fooled
see all
because
the
they think,
trees
"Ooh,
either."
How can that big thing be hidden?
Oh, but look,
Well, it's not hidden. It's just unresolvable. When you zoom in,
the
you
whole
magnify
entire
the
island
image.
becomes unresolvable.
That's correct,
into
but it
center
does not
frame.
mean what you think it means. And what you claim we would see in this video didn't happen.
It did
Very
indeed
poor
happen.
attempt, Gary. Also, what is your justification for omitting this part from the source video? This part from the source video.
So I'm now down on the
Didn't
beach with
promote
an elevation of
anything.
about
He
2
just went
metres,
to a
again
lower
looking
angle,
at
which
Bathurst
compresses the
Lighthouse
image
with
in
maximum
center
optical
frame
zoom on the
into a
P900.
smaller viewing angle.
And as you can see, all that land underneath the lighthouse
Still gonna have
is
the
completely
very same
hidden.
thing. You're gonna have this become unresolvable bottom first into that center frame when he backs off the zoom from this angle. The only thing changes was his elevation, which limits the depth of field at center frame. That's all.
So we have established that zooming out makes the lighthouse unresolvable first. Yet in the last clip, the land is hidden. You can't explain this away with compression, because you said
Nobody can complain that
Of course, you're going to watch it compress. So I don't know how he gets out of this. He just tries to baffle his viewers with bullshit. That's all he has. You're going to watch this disappear bottom first when he backs off the zoom. He limited the angle by lowering elevation.
this isn't a clear image. This is very clear.
alright Gary, let's have another go.
Now you see the red portion at the bottom.
Oh, I did this live. Evidently, he didn't want to play that part where he backs off the zoom and it all goes, contracts back into center frame and disappears bottom first. But anyhow, he's playing another clip from one of mine. And watch the red bottom of this disappear first.
This boat. There's also going to be some turbines in here with yellow bottoms.
Now you're getting it. For the bottom to become unresolvable first, you need the bottom part to be smaller than the top part. That is why you need to be very selective.
Wow, really? I mean, there's other small parts on there too that become unresolvable before the bottom on the top. Some of the windows you won't see. That's angular compression and Rayleigh criterion. It meets the limit where you can't resolve things as separate. And of course, if you have an even top and bottom, the bottom will become unresolvable before the top, just like that island. The top part became unresolvable, or the bottom part became unresolvable before the top. Just because the lighthouse disappeared before all of them, just because it was skinny, it met the Rayleigh criterion.
About the source material you share with us, Gary. But don't worry, I will point out where you go wrong with this one very soon.
I'm sure
Now
you
the
will.
zoom is backing off.
Try.
The ship is approximately 11 or 12 miles away. The turbines are,
Well, you're
closer,
watching
but still far away.
the yellow portion and the red
This
portion
is where
of the
the
ship.
antenna array on top of the ship has become unresolvable and the bottom is still there, Gary.
Because of Rayleigh criterion and angular compression, they're small little parts. You lose all kinds of detail with distance. Does he not know this? He understands perspective is about compression with distance, right? Angular size becomes smaller, little things disappear. Bottoms, because they're in proximity to the surface, are going to disappear before the tops if the sizes are equal. This is just normal, everyday perspective.
Gary? Wow, you feel hard again.
Now you watch the yellow
No,
portions
don't
are
fall hard.
becoming
Look, the yellow
unresolvable as
portion is
separate,
gone. The red
and the
portion
bottom of
is
the boat
gone.
also
Now you still see the
before the
white
tops.
top of the ship.
Way to go, Gary.
Top of the
You
turbines.
discovered what happens with a cheap low-density video sensor, but you wouldn't understand anything I just said, would you?
Yeah, I understood what you said. And you just tried to baffle everybody with your bullshit. It's got nothing to do with the sensor. This is just the way vision works, period. Cameras work similar to the eyes. When the angles become compressed, it can't pick up all the imagery and put it in pixels for everybody to see all the detail. It's just normal, everyday, common perspective. As you see, the bottom of the ship became unresolvable. You're going to see the entire thing disappear. But, Blue is not the smartest person in the world. Blue thinks you have to steer your car to adjust for Coriolis. At least on some days. On other days, he doesn't. Depends on if Bob's in the conversation, because Bob is the alpha.
Angular compression and Rayleigh criterion as things vanish
Everything is
into the
compressing.
vanishing zone.
Everything's going
The
towards
black hole
center.
of
Sides are
information.
moving in.
The black
tops
hole of
and bottom
information
moving towards
is...
center.
No, I'm not gonna do it. Leave it in the comments, guys.
Here you're going to see just a simple angle change. Compress the image.
This is good
saw the
advertising for my
lettering.
video.
All he did was dropped down in elevation from 30 meters to just at the surface, or just by the water. It compressed the letters. You can see a red space above the letters and below the letters in both images, where it's compressed or where it's not compressed. You can see that. So all it is compression.
There you go, Gary. You found compression. Funny though, how nothing became unresolvable.
This particular clip, I didn't talk about things becoming unresolvable. It was in my video. I was just showing how an angle change of elevation compresses what you see into a smaller space. And that's exactly what I showed. But, that's Mr. 42 for you. He obfuscates everything, changes the subject, turns it to something else. He's like a magician, Look over here, don't look over there. But what we did see was with a simple angle change of elevation, it compressed the imagery at the bottom into a much smaller space. It's all still there, just much more compressed.
Full angle change, nothing else.
This is a day of high refraction.
That looks pretty clear to me. It's got nothing to do with refraction. See, this was critical think. It was a clip from one of his videos. He's going to claim refraction is why it was compressed into a smaller space. It's total bullshit. It's just got to do with the angles. The angle became more compressed, which compresses the information into a smaller space. This is normal, everyday, common perspective.
And getting a few of those days lately. This ship, this picture is taken from a height of 15 meters.
An elevation from...
I did make a mistake when I said 30. It was 15 down to sea level. Doesn't matter. it compressed the image. When you change elevation, you go lower, it compresses the image at center frame into a smaller space. When you go higher, you get more depth of field. You get a wider angle. The letters will look larger. You can do this with a simple piece of paper. Just write some letters on it, make them kind of long, vertically long, and then tilt the paper away from you, and they will shorten in your view because you foreshorten the angle. It's compression.
30 meters.
Of 15 meters. And just by looking at the proportions of the ship, there's already some refraction going on there. But
There's
then
no refraction.
I take another picture from lower down. This second picture, I haven't showed it yet, but this second picture I will overlay is taken
Oh,
from
look, it's
right
compressed.
a few inches
Nothing
above
but
the
elevation
water.
change.
And I'll run this a little bit
You see everything
slower.
there, all the information
Right, let's
is
bring
there.
this
It's
into the
compressed
middle,
into a smaller space.
and we'll blink test
Smaller
this.
angles.
This one right on the water,
Information
a few
into
inches
smaller
above
spaces.
the water, and from 15 meters high.
You still see
Now,
the red space.
the thing to
below the
note
words.
here is
The
that
words are
the sea
compressed.
level
You still
appears
see
to
the red space
rise
above
in
the words.
relation to the cranes that are higher out of the water, and they wouldn't be subject to the same amount of refraction as right over the water. So there is
By the
compression
way,
there.
lowering your elevation.
Now we know that
works
there's
similar
earth curve there, so this
to
is
moving
actually
further
loomed
away.
up over the
Has
curve.
the same effect.
And even if you're not going to believe for religious reasons that there is a curve, then you have some explaining to do. So you need to explain how this can happen when there is no curve.
Which I just explained, and it's very easy. It's angular compression. And Rayleigh criterion does take effect. The spaces between letters, spaces between the letters and the water, the spaces between the letters and the deck is all compressing. Now, if you go lower in elevation or simply move further away, see, he's already pretty low, so he can't go much lower. But if you move further away, that area would just compress more and more to the point where you couldn't resolve any of that space with the letters or the red, and you would just see the stuff on the deck.
There you go, Gary. That's your homework assignment.
That's definitely compressed.
Did you hear that? It's definitely compressed. Critical Think knows. He's been kind of quiet lately. I think he knows. So anyhow, he just said it's compressed, which is exactly what I said. It's compressed. Of course, he blames it. He says it's refraction somehow. Light is bending up over the curve and squishing the letters. Wouldn't it make them bigger? Should make them bigger. Huh. Critical Think got that wrong. I didn't even notice it the first time. Of course, this went right over Mr. 42's head because he's a dolt.
So you're going to have to work out how does that compression happen. So you're going to have to admit that there's refraction. Refraction
Compression just happens
that
with
causes
narrow
light
angles.
to bend down, causing that to rise up, and causing that compression. If you admit that there is that kind of compression and that kind of light bending, then you...
I admit there's that kind of compression. I don't admit there's light bending. He's full of shit. And Mr. 42 doesn't understand this. It goes right over his head because he's not that bright.
destroyed every flat earth argument that's ever gone on about the geometric horizon and the complete total lack of refraction.
What geometric horizon? You guys have discarded that. It's been put into the trash bin. According to you guys, we can't even see the horizon, the actual horizon. We're just seeing some imaginary horizon now. That's what globies have resorted to. They have no answers. They just obfuscate with bullshit.
On any of the observations that supposedly prove a flat earth.
Funny how Gary left it out. Got a light.
Funny how I explained it perfectly. Look at this guy. Does he look smart? Look, he puts himself in a control room of a, what is he on? Star Trek? This guy is, look at him. He's completely stupid.
Flurf.
You always say that the observations don't match a geometric globe. Yes, that's right. We've always said that they don't because of refraction. So
Refraction, refraction, that's everything for them now. They don't have any answers. They have to make shit up. That's why they add things like refraction. When we see too far, what's refraction? The light's bending up. We're seeing over the curve. It's a miracle. So they have their versions of refraction, days of heavy refraction, light refraction, medium refraction, super duper refraction, magical refraction, any kind of refraction they can come up with to try to justify what we're seeing that doesn't fit their model.
You're either going to have to admit that refraction here exists in this
Just
demonstration,
compression.
or you're going to have to come up with
Just
something else.
compression. Look how
Who
everything
knows what? I'm sure you'll
compressed.
be creative and come up with
Letters
some
compressed.
bollock story.
Everything compressed.
Here, I want you to pay attention again to the red portions
Oh,
at the
there
bottom
we
of
go
those
again.
boats.
Watch when he backs
Also
off
pay
the zoom.
attention to that
That red portion will disappear.
little white portion, little white
before the
strip you
rest
can
of it.
see on the dock. Watch as they compress. He's going to back off the zoom. Once again, a very clear picture.
Seda by Lutron provides premium smart lighting.
Sure. Here he's backing off the zoom.
And the red portion is going to disappear before the blue.
Everything's compressing
and
towards
before the rest
center.
of the top. In fact, the whole bottom will disappear before the
The
whole top.
vanishing zone black hole is
In fact,
swallowing up
by
that
the time he finishes
information.
backing
You no
off the
longer
zoom,
see the
you're
red
not
portions
gonna
at the
see
bottoms of
anything.
those ships.
That's all fine, Gary,
Oh, he
but
didn't
I
finish
also
playing
don't
it.
see the containers.
I wonder why he didn't finish playing it. Because he knows what happened in my video. Go and watch my video. You'll see what happens. The bottom becomes unresolvable before the top.
Anymore, while the ship itself is still visible. How do you explain that?
This one comes from B-Ball for Life, or Earth is Life, you call them now.
What's happening there on the left, Gary? And I don't mean the boat appearing. In between.
Watch what happens to the bottom of this boat.
And again, this boat has lost its antennas. It's almost
Oh, gee. It lost its antennas. Could it be because they're very thin compared to the rest of the boat? He does know what angular size change is, right? Things appear smaller with distance. Well, that's what we're doing here when we're backing off the zoom. It's just going back to its normal, the normal way we would see it, which would be smaller. It was zoomed in. It was just magnified. So the small things will disappear, but the bottom of the boat will become unresolvable before the entire top. But Mr. 42 will obfuscate, point at an antenna, while the obvious bottom becoming unresolvable for the top takes place, which I don't know. I'm not doing this live. I haven't watched this whole video of his, but my guess is he won't show the rest of that part.
as if the smallest parts become unresolvable first, not the bottom.
Oh, maybe he will.
Everything's moving towards center. The bottom is compressing towards the surface. The information is becoming
Look how everything's
unresolvable.
moving towards center.
And all the information
It's becoming
is being
unresolvable,
gobbled up in
bottom
the black
first,
hole of
compressing into the
zone.
vanishing zone.
You're really making this too easy.
These are mostly
This
clips
was easy.
from your fellow Globies.
And they all debunk your argument. You're an
Not one of them debunked my argument. They all backed everything up I've been saying for years. Bottom first becomes unresolvable before the top because of angular compression and Rayleigh criterion. And by the top, I mean the entire top, not a little flag or mast or whatever, antenna. Things that are already tiny and thin that just simply become unresolvable in midair with no curvature. That seems to be a little bit of a problem for you, Mr. 42.
idiot.
I don't want any complaining that the camera wasn't good enough. You see what happens? The zoom only reveals what's actually happening if you pay attention.
Yes, it does. The smallest objects become unresolvable first.
Especially when you play it back.
Yes, small things do become unresolvable, but the bottoms of the ships vanish first, simply because of compression and Rayleigh criterion limit that makes it become unresolvable as separate from the surface before the top does. We've seen it already in 3 or 4 different things in this. Mr. 42 is not very smart. He thinks he's funny, but he's an idiot. It's actually hilarious. It's almost sad, though. How could somebody be so dumb?
Slow motion like I did. The vanishing zone is a very real place.
Cool. I suggest you move there.
Angular
Aw, wasn't that funny? Did he think of that by himself? Maybe his mommy helped him.
compression and Rayleigh criterion are real things. Narrow angles compress information into smaller and smaller spaces as things move away from the observer. It's just that simple. And like I said, there's two things. There's angles from objects subtended to your eyes that become narrower and narrower with distance. And that vanishing zone, it has a limit.
It sure does, but it's not biased to the bottom.
It is biased to the bottom because the surface rises up towards eye level. The surface is the limit. Things above the surface, the bottoms of things that are above the surface, are the closest proximity to the surface, which therefore they are going to become unresolvable in that center frame, the black hole of the vanishing zone. We've seen it. He showed it. These are clips from my video, which everybody should go watch, and be sure to subscribe to my channel.
The depth of field is limited by elevation above the surface. The closer you are to the surface, like if you're standing on the beach here, the shallower the depth of field will be. The higher in elevation, the more depth of field. That's why when you have a boat that seems to be half hidden when you zoom in, is just too far past the angle for the whatever you're using to resolve it, whatever camera or telescope.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Well, this is what Globies resort to. That's all they can do, is put up memes and laugh because they're idiots. He knows what I'm saying is correct, but he makes money. If you go back and watch his video at the beginning, he runs it with all of his Patreons giving him money. All these guys are giving him money. He's never going to back down. He's always going to claim and try to baffle with bullshit that things will not become unresolvable bottom first because of compression and the Rayleigh limits.
Ready?
And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video enough to click that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click that button as well. In the script.
Yes, I subscribe because I get good laughs out of watching his idiocy. It is kind of funny, but it doesn't change the fact that he's dumber than a box of rocks.
You'll find some links to the source material and some other stuff. This has been Mr. 42, out.
There are